Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today we have a knife review, and that is of this guy. This is the Spyderco Dragonfly 2 Zome edition, or OD Green or Green Zome edition. Alright, so before we get into this knife review, if you're into knives, gear, food, or tech, that's what I do on this channel. I review those things and also do some kind of travel vlogs and adventure vlogs, at least adventure for me. That being said, this knife is awesome. This is one of the classics. This is the Spyderco Dragonfly 2, and it's just a classic Spyderco blade. So we'll go over some specs and we'll talk about this nifty little guy. So the overall length is 5.61 inches long. The blade length is just over 2¼ inches in length. The cutting edge is 1.88 inches, and the blade thickness is pretty thin. It's 0.1 inches thick. The handle length is 3⅓ inches. And the handle thickness is 0.34 inches thick. The overall weight on this little dude is 1.3 ounces. So, boom. So as always, we will talk about the blade, the handle, and we'll kind of hold it up, compare it to a couple other knives, and then see if we can do an ugly brown glove test with this bad boy. So this is a Dragonfly 2. If you haven't seen one of these, it is one of Spyderco's more staple in-house designs, and it is pretty much a classic now at this point. There's been dozens of variations. Yeah, there's multiple colors. The variations vary in blade steel, but yeah, it's been around for a while. The blade shape is kind of Spyderco's classic leaf-shaped design. This one I'd say is a little bit more sharper. Kind of reminds me almost of like a harpoon point, just with that thumb ramp. But for the most part, it's like a leaf-shaped dagger blade. It is flat ground with a secondary bevel, plain edge blade. There's a really cool swedge on the top spine of the blade, so there's very little flat, so it actually makes this a super slicey knife, and it just looks really cool. Looks fairly aggressive with that design feature. You have the Spyderco logo on the front there. You have Spyderco VG10. We'll see if I can zoom right there. So it is a VG10 blade, and it's made in Seki City, Japan, like some of the other knives, your Delicas and whatnot. As far as blade shape goes, it looks really rad. The thumb ramp works ridiculously well, and just the geometry on this makes this an excellent slicer. Even in, like, if you had to do like a self-defense tactical situation, this could also probably suffice, because it is locked in there pretty well. Like, the grip on this is pretty amazing. It does have the Spyderco hole thumb deployment for manual action, and it's ambidextrous right or left with that. The jimping, I'd say, on the thumb ramp and stuff is fairly aggressive, but not, like, I'd say it's medium to aggressive. So, over time, if you're wearing gloves, it might chew it up, but it definitely locks the thumb in there really well. And then there's also a choil up front here that also is jimped, and so you have a lot of grip in those two positions for your thumb and your index finger. As far as VG10 blade steel, I don't know, I kind of harp on it because it's been around forever and it doesn't seem to go down in price when there's like better steels that are coming out. So usually when other steels, new steels come out, new budget steels come out, usually the steels that were in that price range before tend to drop. For some reason, Spyderco's VG10 knives just still cost a buttload of money, and with everything else price-wise going up, it's kind of disappointing that they're still making VG10 knives that still cost 80 bucks. I did a review, I'll link in the upper right hand corner, where I got a VG10 knife from Camillus for like 30 bucks, and it's actually a really good knife. I actually really like that knife. So, you know, I don't know, I mean, maybe this is the greatest, Seki CD makes the greatest VG10 in the world, but at this point, for a polymer handle, I don't know, I'll get into that rant later. But anyways, moving into the handle. Now the handle is kind of hit or miss for me. It's another very unique design as far as like the shape and the ergos go. But you know, we'll talk about that as we go. The color is kind of an OD green. Now the Zome design itself are these hand-dyed scales from Japan. And I guess the Zome is a form of art or staining that is traditional to a region in Japan. And so they're able to carry that kind of cultural art into these scales, as well as other scales in the Spyderco lineup. But this one looks pretty rad. It actually gives it more of like a camo colored look. So if you're looking for a lightweight EDC knife that has that kind of camo pattern, or might fit in a bug out bag or something a little nicer, you might want to go for one of these if you can find them. At the time of this video, they were out of stock on Blade HQ, but I will see if I can find a link to any of these and put it in the link description down below. But other than that, I do like the color and the look of the handle. It does have Spyderco's bi-directional texturing. You also have that little oval placard that says Dragonfly 2, and that also lines up with the pocket clip. The pocket clip is a wired fold over pocket clip, kind of deep carry, and it is ambidextrous, left or right, tip up only. And yeah, my one gripe about the pocket clip though, it's an excellent pocket clip, except for some reason they still have this really large knuckle of a screw in there, and it doesn't allow thicker pants material to really get through there. So it's kind of disappointing that all the other hardware on this is pretty flush and flat, but then they have these big pocket clip knuckles that in my mind kind of dings it and kind of ruins the pocket clip. It's kind of a waste in my opinion. So if there's one thing to improve on this knife, that would be an easy fix. Spyderco, get some flat screws for that pocket clip. Sorry, I'm a pocket clip snob, I guess. But I mean, even on the other side, you just have that thing, and I don't know, maybe they wanted that there for some reason, but it is what it is. There is a lanyard hole on the back end there if you want to put a lanyard on it. Now, the overall shape and like is unique, and it fits and it grips. It's really nicely chamfered, got some nice rounded contours on it on the outside edge, so there isn't really sharp, it isn't sharp, and there's some like jimping into the scales on top to give some traction, and it is a mid backlock with that divot to help you find it. But I don't like knives that have these bigger arches in the handle right there. Okay, because when you're gripping it, here, I'll see if I can do it here. Your fingers tend to sink in lower than the other two, and you get this dip in your hand, and it's not that comfortable. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to be holding it like full grip like that, and it does sit decently nice here because you will be kind of having it at an angle, because that's just how the grip fits. But I just wished it was not as much of an arch in there and came a little bit more shallow. But that's just my personal preference. Other than that, it works fine and it locks it in really well. So overall, this is just an awesome small little EDC lightweight knife that is literally perfect for EDC. Alright, so now we're going to check out the Ugly Brown glove test, see how this knife opens and shuts with a clumsy cloth glove. So opening it works pretty well. Closing it works okay as well. I mean, it is a little bit smaller, so if you have bigger hands, it might be hard to manipulate such a small knife. Oops. But I can find the hole and I can deploy it, and that's kind of the big thing. It is a lockback, so, and typically lockbacks are one-hand close or two-hand close. But with this, you just saw I was able to do it with the glove. As far as the grip locked in, with that bidirectional texturing and the ergos on this knife, I can't pull it out, and then slipping it down is going to be impossible because that thumb ramp is just awesome. The cloth really locks into that jimping on the blade as well as on the scales here, which I'm kind of surprised. It works really well, and then the bidirectional texturing too. So really good stuff. Overall grip on this is excellent, and it is deployable. So does it pass the Ugly Brown glove test? Yes. You know, just because it's small makes it difficult, but grip wise and the deployment and everything, it works really well. So I'm gonna give this an A-. So A- on the Ugly Brown glove test. So there you have it, guys. This is an awesome classic little knife. You know, what would I like to see different on this? Two things. I want to see some other blade steel other than VG10. You know, I'm just done with VG10. I want to see, you know, S30V. I want to see CPM 20CV or you know, other stuff. There are like H1 variations, you know, the salt version, but you know, or even just BD1N, something different. Not a fan of VG10 as much anymore. And then the biggest thing is get that chunky screw out of that pocket clip. This would be such a winner if we could get that. Like, I just put it in my pants pocket and it got caught on that knuckle. It doesn't go in as deep, and I'll get a shot of the pocket. But yeah, definitely need to get rid of that chunky screw there that's hindering the carry of this knife. But who do I think it's for? I think it's for anyone. This could easily be an everyday carry blade, great in like tackle boxes or first aid kits or emergency kits, bug out bags, you know, pocket survival kits, pocket bug out bag things. You know, it's just excellent. A lot of people like the H1 if they're going to the beach and they want a small knife to carry at the beach. Getting that salt waterproof one, like, is perfect. It's super light. You could wear it in swim trunks. So just a great knife. One of Spyderco's best designs, I think. And it's a classic. And price-wise, it's under $100. This version specifically, at the time of this video, was like $70. But I think typically a Dragonfly goes anywhere from $50 to $60, depending on the version. Tons of different colors. So check them out. I'll leave links in the description below. And yeah. So thank you, guys. Let me know what you think about the Spyderco Dragonfly 2. Let me know if you have good experience, bad experience, or whatever. On that, stay tuned for the next video coming out sometime. And yeah, peace. I'll see you outside. Bye.